And I got to make one check here. I just had to make sure the two girls got ice cream when this is over. Imagine how excited you'd be when you're 4, 5, almost 5 years old, coming to hear a president speak. My Lord. In my faith, we call that purgatory.
Guys, somebody please tell me, why does Biden keep doing this? I truly don't understand. Either he has the worst PR team in the world, or he just lacks total self-awareness and self-control. And again, if it's the second of those two possibilities, then he's not fit to be president. Because at this point, you know, it's not funny anymore. Okay, it's not funny anymore. And there's some serious questions about Biden and some of the comments he makes and some of the things that he does when he's around girls of a certain age. And again, at this point, I'm just curious about Biden at this point, okay? Because he just keeps doing this. You would think that his PR team would be like, listen, man, chill out. Even the mainstream media is kind of catching on to this. You might want to calm down, right? Like with this stuff, you know, just do your speech. You don't have to go up there and act like, you know, Creepy Joe. Just do your speech and keep it moving, okay? But I don't know, man. Like I said, his PR team is really bad. Or Joe is just really lacking self-awareness. Now, Biden gives his speech on the anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre, okay, aka the riots on Black Wall Street. Okay, if you guys don't know what that is, right? You guys don't know about that story. It's basically a story that back in, I think it was 1921, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was a community, probably the wealthiest black community in the country at that time, prospering in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, and apparently, again, this is according to the stories, that during that time, there was a black, like, you know, shoe shiner or somebody like that was accused of assaulting a young white, like 17-year-old elevator operator. And apparently he had tripped when he was getting in the elevator, and he had ended up putting his hands on her shoulder. Allegedly, she freaked out, but she didn't press charges. However, there was pressure, you know, from the masses to basically capture this man. Okay, and apparently he was captured at a jailhouse, and there was rumors that he was going to be lynched. And apparently there was a mob of white folks, okay, that showed up demanding that he be lynched, and then there was a mob of black residents that came and was basically saying that he should not be lynched, demanding that he won't be lynched. And apparently these two groups of people, you know, got into it. There was shots fired, and then from there, the next day, the riots and the massacre ensued that essentially destroyed Black Wall Street. Okay, that's the gist of what happened. Now, the liberal media loves to tell this story, and especially the woke revolutionaries, they love this story, but because they want to use it as an example of how if black people build something of their own, how the white man is just going to get mad and tear it down. But they always tend to leave out the fact that Black Wall Street was rebuilt about 10 years later and was continuing to be a thriving community, at the very least until integration. Okay, so that's essentially what happened there. Now, I'm particularly not interested in what Biden has to say about any type of black businesses, because he didn't care about any of the black businesses that were being destroyed all last year by the left-wing mobs. He didn't care. So all of a sudden, you know, he comes out here and he wants to give this speech on the anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre. To me, it might mean something to, again, these simple-minded folks. But if Biden really cared about black businesses, this is something that he would have cared last year when those businesses was literally getting burned down. Okay, everybody wants to be mad about something that happened literally almost 100 years ago now, versus what happened literally a year ago that have affected black businesses. So Biden, obviously, you know, having a bad PR team, or at the very least, being unaware, makes a statement that it's just very Biden-esque when it comes to just talking about black people in general. Take a look.
The data shows young black entrepreneurs are just as capable of succeeding given the chance as white entrepreneurs are. But they don't have lawyers, they don't have accountants, but they have great ideas. Does anyone doubt this whole nation would be better off from the investments those people make? And I promise you, that's why I set up this National Small Business Administration that's much broader, because they're going to get those loans.
So Biden, he says, I believe black entrepreneurs are just as talented as white entrepreneurs. Okay, at least he didn't say black entrepreneurs are just as talented as poor white kids, okay, or poor kids, okay. I'm glad he did not say that. But what he did say is that, they need extra resources because they don't have accountants and lawyers. As if black people can't find accountants and lawyers. Okay, again, this is par for the course in terms of what Biden says when he talks about the ability of black people to do for themselves. Apparently, black entrepreneurs are not smart enough to hire their own accountants and lawyers, but white entrepreneurs can. Again, is that really what's separating white entrepreneurs from black entrepreneurs? Because Biden is saying that both groups are equally talented, but blacks are not equally talented enough to hire their own lawyers and accountants? What are you actually saying? Okay, because I got some issues with that statement. And I guess one interpretation of what he's saying is that, they don't have, the same resources. And I would say this, listen, I'm happy that the Biden administration is trying to bolster the SBA, right? The Small Business Association. I'm a strong believer in the federal government helping out small businesses, especially today's time when you got big tech, you have giants like Walmart that have killed small businesses. So I do think it's fair to help provide small businesses resources to compete, especially, again, during a pandemic that made a lot of these small businesses shut down under no fault of their own. Obviously, I think that the government should help. But at the same time, like I've said, when it comes to, Biden being sued for discrimination, when it comes to the funds for restaurants given from the SBA, it's important that you don't openly discriminate against other people, okay? You make the resources available for everybody, right? You don't just say, I'm giving loans, I'm giving capital to just a certain group of people. That's not how it works. You have to have the resource available for everybody, and the government needs to make sure they do a good job of educating people and telling people that these funds are available. And guys, this just lends itself to the idea that it's not that black people don't have access to capital, right? It's the fact that a lot of people just don't know how to get it. A lot of people don't know how to use their resources to find out that this stuff is available. And that primary responsibility of figuring that stuff out comes down to the individual. That's what it does. It comes down to the individual. Like I said before, just make the loans available to everybody and you go up there and you say, listen, the Biden administration has bolstered the SBA program to give out loans to small businesses. We want everybody's going to benefit from this, but we really want people that have been disproportionately impacted by, the pandemic and that need these funds to apply. Everybody can apply that needs it, but we really want to encourage and spread the word through the black community and these other so-called minority communities that these funds are available. That has to be the approach. Again, because the other approach of just saying, you know what, we're not going to consider applications from white-owned businesses, and we're just going to consider those that come from women and blacks and everybody else except whites. Again, that's just racism. You're fighting racism with more racism. The only thing that really does, and again, people want to talk about the Tulsa Massacre, what it really does is that it just creates an environment of more animosity, okay? And this is why I'm vehemently against these special handouts and special programs that's just given towards certain people. It has to be something everybody gets, but you got to encourage the people that really need it to apply, right? You got to educate them. That's how you really do it. Now, Biden also talked about white supremacy.
The joint session of Congress, according to the intelligence community, terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. not ISIS, not Al Qaeda, white supremacists.
And here he goes, talking about how white supremacy is the biggest threat to this country. Again, no surprise. This is a standard Democrat talking point. And again, I got to ask Joe, where were you at all last year? Because we're talking about the Tulsa Massacre. We're talking about the burning down of black-owned businesses. Were white supremacists burning down black-owned businesses last year? And if so, show me those white supremacists that were doing that. Show me the white supremacists that were causing all the damage that happened in this country last year. You want to talk about the biggest terror threat this country? At some point, the Democrats are going to have to start providing some evidence to support this claim. You're going to have to provide some real hardcore evidence, because it's getting to the point where this is now in conspiracy territory, because they're just saying it. Can you tell me how much property damage was done to businesses and to property last year from white supremacists? How many people were killed as a result of a white supremacist attack? Please give me this information. You're going to have to start providing some statistics, because extraordinary claims like this require extraordinary evidence. And the Democrats, just like with the vote ID laws, they make extraordinary claims without providing any evidence whatsoever to back up those claims. So now the Democrats at the point now, I got to start calling them conspiracy theorists, because this is what it sounds like to me. No mention of Antifa. Okay, no mention of these groups that are currently causing problems in American cities to this day. No mention of those people. No mention of that group whatsoever. But you're talking about white supremacists. Show me the white supremacists that, again, are causing chaos and have taken over whole neighborhoods in a city. Show me that. I want to see it, because I can show you that coming from the left. But for whatever reason, again, they just ignore this. They never want to acknowledge it, and the media never calls them out on it, because they don't really care. And that's what really pisses me off. And they want to virtue signal and try to act like they care about a massacre like what happened in Tulsa. They act like they care. But what's actually going on today? The injustices that are actually happening right now in Portland and in a lot of these major U.S. cities that are costing us black lives, they don't give one damn about. But they care about something that happened 100 years ago. When you don't seem to give a damn about what's going on today, but for whatever reason, you care about what happened in the past, something that you cannot change, it shows to me that everything that you're talking about is nothing but empty rhetoric. You're doing nothing but virtue signal, trying to act like you care about something that you really don't care about. Because if you really cared, you would care about today's lives more than you care about the lives of yesterday. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.